Italy is a land of overwhelming choice. Which cities are truly worth seeing? Which feel overcrowded? Where do the most beautiful landscapes, coasts and villages lie? Today we travel across the country, revealing its treasures, its jewels and the qualities that make every corner unique. Italy is a land of superlatives. With more UNESCO World Heritage Sites than any other nation, it stands at the top of the world list. Here the oldest university in the Western world was founded. Here opera was born. And few countries have shaped the global table as profoundly as Italy: pizza, pasta, gelato, espresso. A journey through this country is far more than a holiday. It is an experience for every sense. Yet Italy is never simply one place. From the alpine north across soft rolling hills to volcanic landscapes in the far south, the country continually changes its face. Elegant metropolises meet medieval villages, snow-capped peaks meet Mediterranean shores. Exactly this extraordinary variety makes Italy a destination you do not visit only once, but return to discover again and again. In the south the traffic is louder and the food more uncompromising than almost anywhere else. A volcano dominates the skyline, a coastline clings to vertical cliffs, and two ancient cities have lain sealed under ash for nearly 2,000 years. Naples does not invite quiet observation, it seizes you. Laundry hangs between balconies, scooters thread impossible gaps, and the scent of dough and hot oil drifts from open doorways. A few steps away the mood shifts completely: a 19th-century glass-domed gallery of marble floors, a castle on a rocky spit that was once an island, and a hilltop view across an entire gulf with the volcano as silhouette. The city's football legend still watches from murals and flags in the old quarters, a figure of pride and resistance. And the pizza here is different because of the oven: 90 seconds at more than 400 degrees, a soft blistered rim, a handful of perfect ingredients. So distinctive that the craft itself is recognized as intangible cultural heritage. A short distance north stands a palace of 1,200 rooms and 1,700 windows, built to outshine Versailles, with a park whose water axis runs for kilometers toward an artificial cascade that plunges 80 meters. Further still lie the cities frozen by the eruption of 79 AD. One is intimate: carboniced wood, two-story houses, mosaics in original color, and the remains of people who waited for rescue on an ancient beach. The other is vast: original basalt streets scored by cartwheels, bakeries, cookshops, frescoed villas, and the oldest surviving stone amphitheater of the Roman world. Above them rises the volcano itself, still active, its crater open and smoking, last erupted within living memory. Along the coast a road twists for 50 kilometers against near-vertical rock. Pastel houses tumble toward the sea, linked by stairs rather than streets. Higher up, gardens open onto terraces that truly deserve the name of infinity. Lemons the size of a fist hang under pergolas and give their fragrance to the most famous liqueur of the south. Offshore an island shows two faces: a glamorous square of aperitivo and designer shops, and, a short walk away, a sea cave where sunlight enters underwater and turns the entire basin luminous blue, and 3 limestone stacks rising from the water, one pierced by an arch. Further north the land flattens into a plain that feeds the nation. Parmesan wheels the size of millstones age for months or years. Hams hang in ventilated halls, cured by nothing but salt and mountain air. A city of 3 nicknames: the learned, the red, the fat, carries nearly 40 kilometers of arcades so that rain never forces an umbrella. 2 medieval towers lean beside each other above terracotta roofs. Another elegant, unhurried town nearby produces both the cheese and the ham that carry its name across the world. Still further, high gloss and mountain silence lie side by side. A cathedral of white marble, centuries in the making, rises with more than 100 spires and thousands of statues, crowned by a gilded Madonna. Its roof terraces let you walk among the flying buttresses. A glass-roofed shopping gallery leads to the country's most famous opera house. A short distance north, a deep lake shaped like an inverted Y lies between steep flanks. Villages of ochre and pink climb stair alleys, villas with terraced gardens of camellias and azaleas sit on wooded promontories reachable only by boat or footpath. On a hill above the plain a medieval upper town is still enclosed by almost perfect Venetian walls, its main square so perfectly proportioned that architects have quoted it for centuries. Nearby, Roman columns and mosaic floors of wealthy houses emerge from the ground. Eastward the mountains change character. What rises as vertical walls was once a tropical coral reef. Magnesium in the rock makes the cliffs turn from gray through yellow to deep rose red at sunrise and sunset, a brief, famous glow. Three almost sheer towers stand as the classic motif. A high plateau of rolling meadows is the largest of its kind in Europe. A lake in a forested amphitheater draws such crowds that access is now controlled. In the valleys people speak more than one language, dumplings sit beside espresso, and the remains of a man who died 5,000 years ago rest in a modern museum. A church tower still rises from the waters of a reservoir that drowned a village within living memory. South of those peaks the country's largest lake stretches 50 kilometers. Its northern arm is narrow and fjord-like, a playground for wind, the southern half opens wide and Mediterranean. A peninsula carries a battlement water castle and the ruins of a vast Roman villa among olive trees. Cable cars climb high above the water for views of the entire basin. Then the landscape softens into the image most people carry of Italy: gentle hills, cypress rows, vineyards, stone villages on ridges. A city packed with art history centers on a cathedral dome that remains the largest masonry vault ever built, raised without continuous scaffolding. A bridge of goldsmiths' shops crosses the river, a single marble figure more than 5 meters high stands in a gallery. From a hillside square the whole city glows in evening light. Nearby a shell-shaped brick square slopes gently. A black and white striped cathedral has floors of inlaid marble pictures uncovered only for a few weeks each year. A skyline of 14 medieval towers rises from the hills, survivors of a time when families competed in height. A famous leaning bell tower, deliberately curved by its builders to counteract soft ground, stands beside a circular baptistry of legendary acoustics. Further south the landscape itself was shaped in the Renaissance: rolling grain fields, solitary cypress groups, stone farmhouses on ridges, morning mist in the hollows. A village square is a steaming thermal pool. On neighboring heights one town climbs a steep street of Renaissance palaces above cellars of noble wine, another was rebuilt in a few years as an ideal city of perfect proportions. Hot sulfur water still cascades over white travertine terraces that are free to all, day and night. In the far south the land grows rougher, poorer and more original, yet clearer in its water and thinner in its crowds. Villages cling to rock needles above turquoise beaches, houses hang over the void, a church once stood on its own island. Fishing quarters press so close to the sea that waves strike the thresholds, and boats still hunt swordfish with high lookout masts and long harpoon bridges. Inland, Norman villages of cobblestones and ancient columns perch on plateaus with views to the sea. On the heel, conical stone houses without mortar form entire streets, their roofs marked with mysterious white symbols. Towns of dazzling white lime wash rise above seas of thousand-year-old olive trees. Soft golden limestone is carved into baroque facades that overflow with animals, fruit and ornament. In narrow alleys women still shape ear-like pasta by hand in a motion almost impossible to copy. And in a gorge a city of caves remains one of the longest continuously inhabited places on earth. Roofs of one dwelling are courtyards of the next, spaces tunnel deep into soft rock. Once called a national shame for its poverty, it now glows at night with thousands of warm windows and has served repeatedly as a film set for ancient Jerusalem. Nearby, sandstone spikes hold 2 villages, some houses built directly into the rock face. Along a narrow northwestern strip between mountains and sea, 5 villages cling to the cliffs without a single compromise to the terrain. Pastel houses stack in amphitheaters around tiny harbors or climb terraces reached by hundreds of steps. Dry stone walls thousands of kilometers long support vineyards that produce an amber-sweet wine. The train between them runs mostly in tunnel and takes only minutes. Nearby a once tiny fishing village of tall colored houses now draws the world's luxury yachts, while a medieval abbey still sits in a roadless cove reachable only by path or boat. A great port city nearby hides one of Europe's largest old towns in alleys so narrow that daylight barely reaches the ground, opening suddenly onto grand palaces and courtyards. In the green heart of the peninsula, a pink stone town on a mountainside remains one of Christianity's great pilgrimage places, its double basilica rebuilt stone by stone after earthquake. A cathedral facade of gold mosaics and colored marble crowns a sheer tuff plateau. A deep well with two non-crossing spiral staircases descends into the rock. Water plunges in 3 great steps down a cliff, a Roman canal still working after more than 2,000 years, opening on schedule into a roaring cascade. Underground, a single cavern large enough to hold a cathedral keeps a constant cool temperature the year round. On the great island to the south every conquering power left its mark in stone and on the plate. The highest active volcano in Europe watches over the largest collection of Greek temples outside Greece itself. One stands almost complete because it was converted into a church and therefore preserved. In the capital, pointed arches, red domes and Byzantine gold mosaics share the same walls, the work of craftsmen kept on after conquest. Markets overflow with color, spice and the cries of traders. A Norman cathedral rises beneath a massive rock. An elegant terraced town looks through the gaps of its ancient theater to the sea and the volcano beyond. Quiet villages still hold the original bars and churches of famous film scenes. Fine sand beaches backed by vertical limestone, and white marl cliffs falling in soft curves to turquoise water, rank among the most beautiful in Europe. Offshore, a chain of volcanic islands includes one that has thrown fire into the sky almost without pause for thousands of years. After dark the glowing arcs are visible from the sea. In the northwest, at the foot of the Alps, a grid-planned city of long arcades was expanded into a royal capital. Its palace complexes, once nearly ruined, have been restored on a European scale. An eccentric tower that began as a synagogue now dominates the skyline. One of the world's great Egyptian collections fills a museum. 2 lakes of contrasting character hold islands of Baroque gardens with peacocks and quiet monastic cloisters where silence is requested and largely kept. On the surrounding hills the Nebbiolo grape produces some of Italy's most celebrated red wines, and in autumn the white truffle, found at night by trained dogs in places never named, commands prices among the highest of any food on earth. Eastward a city of more than 100 islands stands on millions of wooden piles driven into lagoon mud. Its great canal swings in a broad curve past palaces that rise straight from the water, only 4 bridges cross it. Gold mosaics cover thousands of square meters inside a church of 5 domes, a delicate bridge once led prisoners to their cells. Away from the central squares, ordinary life continues, delivery boats, children playing, islands of glass furnaces and of houses painted in every bright color so fishermen could find them in fog. The city lives with its own popularity and with rising water, yet it remains a place that must be seen at least once. Nearby a perfectly preserved Roman amphitheater still hosts opera under the open sky, and a courtyard balcony draws visitors from every continent even though history claims almost no connection to the famous lovers. On steep ridges further north, grapes for a celebrated sparkling wine are harvested by hand in a form of agriculture rightly called heroic. Finally the large island to the west keeps its own culture and its own astonishing water. Vertical limestone massifs drop for kilometers into the sea, creating coves reachable only by boat or long descent. The color of the water shifts with depth through every shade of turquoise and green. One bay is capped by a soaring rock needle, others hide caves at the end of pebble beaches. A colorful town climbs a hillside above the island's only navigable river, crowned by a medieval castle. In the south the capital spreads across hills, its old fortress quarter looking out over harbor and lagoon where flamingos now breed in permanent pink lines against the city skyline. A journey across these landscapes ends with the same feeling that began it. You never leave with the sense of having seen everything. That is what Italy is. There is never enough Italy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, leave a like and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. Until next time.